Mississippi fastball, Justin Steele, reoccurring guest here on the Just Baseball Show. Left-handed pitcher for the Chicago Cubs. Justin, reoccurring guest, thank you so much for coming back on. Unfortunately, it's at a tough time as, you're rehabbing through this hamstring injury, but thank you so much for taking the time, my man. Appreciate you.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
Okay, so I am going to ask you how you're feeling, but before we do that, I do have to say I was on the phone with Peter earlier today, and he mentioned that you had some trouble with time zones. And that's a thing that I've gotten on Peter several times about because, Peter, I've lived in Indiana the entire time that we've done this podcast, and he forgets that I'm on Eastern. So, I always need to remind him. And you had no idea what time zone Chicago, Illinois was in. What do we got going on, man?
So it's because I live in Arizona most of the time, and there's never time change in Arizona. So when time does change and I'm in Arizona, it doesn't affect me. So I never know if time's springing forward or going back in other places when I'm not there, kind of thing. Like in Mississippi, when I grew up in Mississippi, I knew because I was always there and it affected me and stuff. But when I'm not here, it's just especially in Arizona, the time doesn't change. It's it doesn't matter.
Damn it. Because that was a real excuse. Because Justin is consistently traveling from state to state, obviously played baseball, going from Arizona, different time zones. I've been recording with Jack McMullen for 3 years, and I'm still just now figuring out that Indy is, and I have no excuse. I'm not traveling anywhere. There's no,
right. It's
there's
you're
no
in New
difference.
York, I'm in Indy every time. And he's got to know. But also fair, if it was 3 weeks into the season, I would have been like, come on, dude, you got to know what time zone Chicago is. But you're a week in, you just left Arizona. How you feeling, by the way? Let's just get that out of the way right now. Obviously, a lot of people saw it was 40-something degrees at Wrigley for the home opener, and you were out there throwing in the outfield before the home opener. Where are you at physically? Do you feel good? What's going on there?
Yeah, I feel good. Have been able through this process. It was a grade 1 hamstring, so obviously for us that was best case scenario. Anything beyond that would have been worse news. But we were glad to hear the news. Through this process, I'm able to keep my arm moving and stuff. I can go in the outfield, I can throw as far as I need, as much as I need. Yesterday, I got out there and I probably made 70-ish total throws. I would sit down for 2 or 3 minutes and then go out, do 20 intense throws, sit down, trying to simulate not a game, but that kind of setting just to keep my arm and stamina built up and stuff. So when this gets back to the point that it's 100% and I'm able to take off in a dead sprint with no questions asked, I'll be able to get right back in the games right off the mound, because that can kind of the end of that process. If you're not throwing or doing anything, building your arm back up, getting built back up to 5 innings, that can be a really long process. So me and the staff, I kind of went to them and I was like, look, as soon as this is back to 100%, I want to get back in the games, back on the mound.
So kind of building off that real quick, Peter, I was supposed to see Sonny Gray in Indianapolis, talk about a guy interdivision who's also dealing with a hammy thing. And it happened so early in spring that he needs to do the build back up process. And instead of, live game and a rehab, it's a sim game and things like that. And we just saw Stephen Boat say Gavin Williams has to start from scratch. It sounds like you don't have to start from scratch. Do you think you'll go to Iowa for a start or two, or no? Is it just ready to go?
I can't speak for the team and what they're gonna make me do, but I personally, I don't feel like I need to do that. I feel like I could throw maybe a live VP here at Wrigley or against some of our guys and then hop right into games. I'm not one of them pitchers, I would say, that kind of needs that kind of I don't know. I just don't feel like I really need it. I kind of feel like for me to get used to pitching in games again, I just got to pitch in games again. So that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Can you walk us through kind of what happened? Because we were watching the Cubs and the Rangers game, and you're coming off to the side, and it looks like you fall down. And for me, my heart dropped because you're one of my favorite pitchers to watch in all of Major League Baseball, friend of the program. So when that happened, I was like, my mind immediately went to, is it a torn ACL? What the hell happened here? Can you just kind of walk us through that? Because a person watching on TV, I was terrified. But it's glad to hear that it's okay.
Yeah, so I grade 2 this hamstring in 2020 at the alternate site in 2020. And that was like right after I got called up for like 10 days and got optioned down, and then it happened. So it was a pretty big setback at that point. And then the other night, I guess it was 6, 7 days ago now, in Texas, pitching, was feeling good, was pitching well. It was a bunt to the first base side, and I remember as I was going to backhand it, I'm leaning, like all my weight was just on my left leg leaning over, and as soon as like the ball hit my glove and I felt it and took that next step, I like felt it like grab. I guess you would say like a grab in my hamstring, and at that point I was like, I need to get this ball out of my hand and get off my feet because I don't want to take any more steps and like further like make it worse. So like it happened really fast. I literally just like grabbed the ball and like ditched it to the first base side, was able to get that out, which was cool. And then I kind of just like fell and like rolled into it because I remember in 2020 when I grade 2'd it, I took like a few more steps after I did it, like not realizing what was happening. And I think that's what ended up making it worse. So in the other night when I kind of rolled, fell, and just fell right into it, I was kind of just like not wanting to make it worse.
Right. It's like, I guess gymnasts too, right? Like you just tumble right into something. It's, as long as you don't try to fight it, it's probably best case scenario for you.
Yes, exactly. And I think it was like we had the next day off. The next day I came to the field. I was able to play catch. I was balancing on it. I was able to push off of it. It's literally, I'm able to push off of it just fine. Like it's no problem at all with that. It's kind of just like that reaching out in front, grabbing the ground, pulling it back, like that running motion. But I feel like I'll get back to that in no time.
The reason I asked is first, I want to make sure you're okay. Second,
Just looking
like
out.
Jack, have you ever torn a hamstring? I don't think I've ever been athletic enough to even get there. So
No.
I was more trying to understand the tearing the hamstring in general because I'm too fat to have ever experienced that.
So I wasn't athletic enough to like ever really have arm issues because I just wasn't good. Like
That's what I'm saying.
it was one of those things that like I never got hurt because I was bad, and I'm with you, same deal. So credit to you, man, for pushing your body to the limit.
My hamstrings are all like, I've had tight hamstrings my entire life. I don't know if it's the way I sit, the way I walk, or what it is, but like I stretch my hamstrings all the time. I stretch my back because it helps my hamstrings. Like I do everything for my hamstrings, and it's just one of them things. Like, put too much weight over it on the right time, it's just it grabs.
Hey, arm's good, man. Peter and I were talking about it like an hour ago, and he mentioned, last time you came on, it was just you and Peter, and
Mm-hmm.
I remember listening back to it, and so much of the conversation was about the long, winding road to the big leagues and how you're finally here and how you're carving out a role. And I mentioned we're kind of talking to a different Justin Steele, and I'm not talking Justin Steele, the guy, but like finished top 5 in Cy Young voting last year, dude. Like you
Fuck
have
yeah.
experienced, yeah, sick.
Yeah.
You have experienced immense success in the big leagues now. In terms of unlocking like a new level of who you are as a pitcher, as a competitor, where do you feel like you've changed now than September 22 when you initially hopped on with Peter?
I think in September of 22, at that point, I think I was really starting to figure out what made me successful, what was working for me, and I was really starting to ride it, which is obviously, the four seam slider combination. And I think from now until then, from now to that point, I think I've just really honed in on it. I've been able to make those pitches even better than what they were. I'm starting to use my other pitches to complement them better. I think I'm just growing as a person, as a player. You play baseball every day. You can't help but get better. It's one of them things, and we have such a great staff and players, and just environment around us every single day. It's hard not to get better, and I really enjoy going to the field. We got so many good pitchers to like pick their brains, like Kyle Hendricks. We got Shota Imanaga now. I could, even when I'm not pitching right now, I go watch their bullpens, and I feel like I'm able to get better. I'm able to learn something. So I feel like those kind of things, the small details, the paying attention to the small details, even when you're playing catch, trying to take something from it, get better. I think that's kind of, the smaller, but in the long run, bigger steps that I've kind of taken.
I definitely want to ask about Shota Imanaga and get your scouting report on him because that start against the Rockies. Are you kidding
Yeah.
me?
Disgusting.
I called this. I called it. I watched one bullpen and I was like, people need to get on eBay and get these cards right now.
Hell yeah.
Dude's
So
filthy.
I want to gush about that in a minute, but my question is following off of that. Was there a start that you felt that you arrived? Because I remember we interviewed you in September of 22, and all of those starts you had already killed it. You put up that great season. But then 2023 felt like, at least to baseball fans, your coming out party. And I watched you on April 1st dominate a division rival in the Brewers back in 23. Is that a start where you felt like you arrived? Was it your first start? When did you leave the mound and think to yourself, I'm motherfucking Justin Steele?
Um, I don't know that I walked off the mound thinking exactly that. I That's a good question. Um, I think back to a start that comes to mind is it was either the second or third start of the season last year. My first start of the year was good. It was good to get that one under my belt. There was a few things I wanted to work on, but I remember we went to LA. It was either the second or third start of the year. And I remember I went 7 innings. I pitched well in LA Stadium against that good Dodger lineup. And I remember after that night, it kind of settled. I was like, all right, if I can go into a packed LA Stadium, I can pitch against that lineup, feel good about it. That was kind of a moment for me. I was like, I'm in a headspace where I feel like I can do this pretty confidently. And yeah, that's definitely a start I think back to.
Yeah, it was 7 innings in LA, third start of the year. And it
Third
was,
start, okay.
yeah, third start. And it was 3 hits, 8 Ks, 1 walk. And like,
Yeah.
I mean, that lineup, first road start of the year. And also like going seven had to factor into that too, because you had gone six, the front two, but like the seventh is a different beast for a starting pitcher. Every starting pitcher wants to go seven. And like
Yeah.
6 on 3, yeah, it's a quality start. But I feel like every starting pitcher will tell you like it doesn't really feel like a quality start, but like 7 innings is something that kind of kicks you into that new competitive gear. And you probably start to get that feeling of, damn, I can finish the thing.
Yeah, no doubt. And there's definitely starts where you go like you get through 6 innings, you give up the 3 runs, and you like gave up 7 hits. You threw 110 pitches. Like I consider those quality. Like because you had to work for every single out. You had to go out there and grind. So those but definitely I definitely agree with you. Like most starters, like you want to go seven. You want to pitch. You want to get close to the end of the ball game as you possibly can, just to help the bullpen, help everybody out and stuff. But sorry, what was the original question?
Oh, you're good.
So
Yeah.
I was about to ask. So for the Dodgers, you're one of the most grittiest and competitive guys, I think, in Major League Baseball. That's why you're one of my favorite players. When the Dodgers add Ohtani and you look at their lineup, right? You felt that that was your first start, not technically arriving, but you felt the kind of the best after that one. Is there a feeling in you that says, I want to go back into Dodger Stadium and just absolutely dominate them? Or is it more, I deal with each start as we move along? Or is there something in the back of your head where it's like, I want to shove it down the Dodgers?
No, I think I'm definitely the person that takes things start to start, even like day to day. Like I'm very in the moment where my feet are. I do a really good job of that. I think that's kind of what helps me be the pitcher I am. But no, I really don't look ahead. I don't like look at teams in any sort of light or anything like that. I want to go out and dominate every time I pitch, and I want to do it consistently. I want to do it every fifth day. Want to be a guy that the club can rely on, and that's kind of what I strive to be. I don't really look at like specific teams in any light.
See, Jack, that's why he's elite. Because in my head, I would just be overlooking people and just thinking about the Dodgers and wanting to shove. That's why I'm not in the bigs. And
That's why your last competitive baseball game was what, 2016, senior year of high school?
best year of my life.
There we go, man. Talk about someone that peaked. before we get to Shota and all that, I reread Sahadev's article on your fastball. Sahadev Sharma does a great job on the Cubs beat for The Athletic. And
Yeah.
he wrote this, I think, like a year ago. It was mid to late April 2023. And that was the first time I really understood the concept of cut ride. He did a great job kind of breaking down cut ride. So if you wouldn't mind just kind of explaining in even like further simpler terms for you that actually throws like that cut ride fastball, what it means. Because my gist that I got from it was, against left-handed hitters, you'll cut it a bit, right? And you'll supinate just a little bit, and then you can really let that thing play and almost run arm side or kind of take off
Yeah.
against right-handed hitters. But what am I missing in that?
So, being a left-handed pitcher, you pretty much face a lot of right-handed batters. If you just kind of think of a barrel swinging through the zone, if you think of a sinker or a two seam, that's typically going to go back towards their barrel in any given sense. Like if it's inside and it kind of comes back towards the zone, it's still kind of going towards the barrel in some regard. Me, left-handed pitcher, you're facing a ton of right-handed batters, even coming through the minor leagues, big leagues, and stuff. I was saying like the sinker two seam is always going to kind of go back towards the barrel no matter where you're throwing it. So for me, my four seam kind of always had some like natural cut. I've always been able to make the ball go that way into the righty. And that's kind of when I started taking some really big leaps and bounds forward, was really like honing in that glove side four seam in on righties, making it cut below the barrel, try to get it above the barrel. And for me, it depends on the count, what I'm trying to do, the hitter, and like if I'm wanting it to go like up and in on the righty, kind of get above his barrel, you kind of just like, I don't know, it's hard to explain. You just kind of like lay your wrist back a little bit more, create more like lift on the ball. Whereas if I get more on top of the ball, it's going to make it cut and go like towards their back foot. So it's kind of just like a wrist position type deal. Whereas like you could lay it back more, it's going to carry more. You get on top of it more, it's going to go back foot more. And I kind of just play on that like inner part of the plate to righties. And then obviously I have a two seam sinker. I use it when need be, but the four seam and the slider play really well off of one another. It's really hard to, make, tell the difference in them.
I was going to ask you about kind of like the mental cue for you, because, I feel like a lot of pitchers and, young pitchers that are listening to this, I'm sure have played catch and tried to feel whatever you're talking about, where, you almost feel like you're over exaggerating cutting it when you're working on, adding a slider or adding a cutter. You feel like naturally you'll kind of get some of that cut. So do you feel like you need to force yourself to almost keep that wrist back? Is it something with like the fingers?
So I have to think that with my, like when I'm throwing a two seam and sinker, just because like I naturally throw on that side of the ball, like I'm able to they call it supination, but I'm able to supinate really well. I'm kind of like naturally in that position. So throwing sliders, curveballs, my four seam cutter, that's kind of natural to me. And then like change up, sinker, like I kind of have to like think about it and like make the ball, like that's kind of out of my comfort zone, but you give and you take.
Can you talk through the maturation of this fastball too? Because you talked about how your whole life you've been more of a supinator and that you've always kind of had this cut ride, but your ability to manipulate that fastball while also putting in some two seams. Like, did that happen in the minor leagues? Was that right on the precipice of making the
No,
majors? Was it more last season? How did that mature?
I mean, I'm still not even able to do it every single day. There's days where I have a lot better command of it. And then there's days where, I'm just trying to get it glove side, trying to move it arm side, just doing different things with it and stuff. But yeah, when it's going well, I'm, able to backdoor the four, make it look like it's almost in the lefty's batter box, come back, clip the zone. Like I said, get above the barrel, get below the barrel. And then, your really good days, you're able to mix in the sinker, the two seam, really get them off of the four, and then dropping the breaking balls, change ups, and different things like that.
I want to talk about. Yeah.
Oh no, I just have one more question before we talk about Shota as well. I'm more curious about this, not like you need it. Just thought I'd ask. Is there any development of a third pitch coming? Like I said, you don't need it. But all I see in the off seasons are, this guy added a splitter, or this guy added a changeup, or this guy has a different breaking ball, and you just stick. I got my fastball, and I got my slider, and I'm gonna dominate you. Has there ever been a thought, hey, I might just try a third pitch just because it's fun?
Yeah, I mean, I throw three other pitches. I throw a changeup, two seam, and a curveball. I threw them a decent amount in spring training just because like spring training is the time to work on stuff like that, get the game reps with them and stuff. And there's situations and seasons and different situations where you're facing different hitters where it kind of dictates like it makes sense to throw one right here. He hits sliders and four seams really well from lefties, so might need to give him a different look to get him off of it. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, what I go back to is if I'm going to get beat, I'm not going to get beat with my third, fourth, or fifth best pitch. I'm going to make you hit one of my two best pitches, and it's going to be whichever one I'm feeling good with. Like I'm gonna the best pitch in baseball is the one you're most confident in.
Yep. Love that.
I love that. I love that. And I think we see the influx of, three pitch pitchers that are really successful. I think, even like 10 years ago, you had the idea that, a good starting pitcher had to have like a 5-pitch mix, right? They needed 4 or 5 pitches they need to turn to, and you're playing the chess match and all that. But I love the idea of my best is better than your best, and I'm going to show you that. Shota Imanaga kind of showed us his best against Colorado in the home opener.
Yeah.
That was awesome that Shota got to start the home opener. Like, great that you got to start opening day in Texas against the defending champs. I love that it was you two that got to start kind of each like landmark game in that first week. And Shota had that place rocking. Before we get to Shota, how cool is a rocking Wrigley Field? That place, like when that place is right, it seems like the best place to play baseball on planet Earth.
It's the best thing in sports. Day game at Wrigley, that place rocking. It's the best thing in sports. You can't really put a description on it. Like it's just a vibe, man. It's something you can't explain.
I tweeted out when Morel had that inside the park home run and Boog Shambi's just screaming. I tweeted out I would pay so much money to have a seat at Wrigley right now. What's the best seat in the house, in your opinion?
Ooh. I mean, obviously the dugout's sick. If I was a fan, I would live in the bleachers. I feel like I would want to watch every game from the bleachers just because you're able, if you get to the just under the scoreboard in center, you're able to see like some of the lake, you're able to see downtown. You have the whole game in front of you. There's like beer being sold right behind you, food, concessions. Like you kind of like that's like a sick spot. Like right under that scoreboard in center is like a really cool spot. I think I would like want to stay there.
You want to get involved in the beer snake too, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Who doesn't?
I've been involved in a beer snake. So the Shota Imanaga scouting report from Justin Steele. Let's hear it.
Um, I mean, dude, it's cartoon stuff. It's really like watching him through when he came over and he threw his first bullpen, first one that I watched anyways. I walked away from it and I was just like, it's some stuff that you don't really see. Like it's something it's hard to explain. Like he's throwing 20 to 25-inch vertical fastballs. It's like it doesn't come down and it's just dead straight. Like it's incredible. And then throwing 15-inch breaking balls off of it, nasty split. And he has so much. It's weird because it's his first year, but he's 30, so he's very seasoned. He knows what he's doing. Like dude's a pitcher. So just watching him manipulate the ball, working his in between days, bullpen days, and then obviously when he goes to Wrigley like that, goes bananas, and he's like feeling the energy from the crowd. He's like eating it up. Being in the moment and stuff. It's just cool to watch. I think he's going to be a fan favorite. I think he's going to be something special.
The idea, just like his savant is going to be disgusting. And watching him in person is way better. But like this dude goes from, you mentioned the 20 to 25 inches of vert. Like he's spinning off 2,500 fastballs and then he drops it down to 1,000 RPMs on the split. Like you look at active spin. Active spin is kind of the real tell instead of like the concrete spin number, I'm sure. 98% active spin on the four seam, 94 on the splitter. Have you seen numbers like that from anybody else?
I, not that consistent, I don't think. I mean, from time to time, you'll just see a true ride fastball pop up on the Rapsodo or whatever, and it's like 99%. But I don't think I've ever seen someone do it as consistently as him. And it just seems like he has such a feel for it, and he's able to manipulate it in different ways. It's impressive to watch. And yeah, you just sit there and you're watching. It's like, holy smokes, that ball just exploded through the zone. It's like 92. It's like, wow. Like,
So you're a guy that is east west too, right? And you can
yeah,
handle like, top down or north south in the zone, but you for the most part, like your success comes east to west. His is north south. Like
yes.
he's gonna beat you at the top of the zone, he's gonna beat you at the bottom of the zone. Do you almost like envy the north south guys when they're going, right? Because it's just such a unique thing. There are very few guys in Major League Baseball that are like really good north south guys.
I mean, yeah, I mean, the guys that are able to do a little bit of both, those are your, Max Scherzers, your Hall of Famers, your guys that pitch for 10 to 20 years. That's kind of what you think of, guys that are able to like supinate really well, pronate really well, just have tons of feel with the ball in their hand. Um, I wouldn't say I necessarily envy it, but I'm definitely, constantly always trying to learn and like watch what he's doing, ask what he's thinking, and just different things along them lines to where like I can kind of like tap in and like kind of see what he's thinking and put myself in his shoes because I'm obviously able to do what I do really well. But if I'm able to incorporate some things from Shota's game and Kyle Hendricks' game and kind of make myself my own pitcher, it's kind of the idea of getting better.
Another pitcher that I wanted your take on, Javier Assad. So Javier Assad doesn't like light up radar guns, right? He doesn't have the 20 inches of induced vertical break on the fastball, but he just never really allows runs. Put up a
He just
3.11
pitches.
a couple years ago, 3.05 last year, gets off to a great start this year. And he's not a guy that, Cubs fans obviously love him, but the rest of baseball, he's never on Pitching Ninja, right? He's not lighting up the big red savant bubbles for all of us who aren't on the field and all we get to look at is the bubbles. Talk to me about the pitcher that Javier Assad is and what makes him so effective.
Javi Assad has been this same exact guy, same exact pitcher ever since he's been with the Cubs, as far as I can remember, and as long as I've known him. I don't think I've ever seen the guy struggle. I think every time I've seen him pitch on a mound, it's like he kept us in that ball game. We had a chance to win the entire time. I seriously every time.
Every time.
I think I've known him for 6 or 7 years now, and I seriously cannot think to one time that it was like this. It got out of hand. He didn't have it today. No, every single time we were in the game, like and that's just who he is. He's the most consistent person. Dude, he can play catch every single day, and it's the same thing. It's like sinker, four seam, and like you said, it's not eye popping stuff. It's not Yamamoto or Shota, like guys with just popping numbers. It's like, no, this guy's a pitcher. He's just out there pitching. He knows what he's doing. He's been doing it a long time, been doing it consistently for such a long time. That's kind of what blows me away as impressive. Like I've known him as long as I've known him, and it's just the same thing every single day.
Speaking of the consistency, he's allowed 4 earned runs twice
That's
in
it.
3 years.
That's
It's
exactly
every
what
day.
I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying, dude. Like
Does
it's every time.
he have like any weird quirks? Like he's just
No,
so salt. It's just he shows up to the ballpark, does his thing every day, and that's it.
Now he's doing something
every
at like 5 a.m. that you're not seeing.
Yeah, 100%.
no. I promise he's not. I I know Assad. He's not. He's the man. He's literally the man. Like he just shows up, does his work, works hard, goes out there and pitches. Next day, same thing. Like it's just that guy, he just has that in him.
Are you sure he's not doing some like weird CrossFit thing at like
I
6
promise you he's not.
Dude.
I promise you he's not. I know he's not.
I know.
I love that you brought him up, Peter, because like I mean it's crazy to look at, but it's like 150 big league innings under his belt at this point. He's got a 2.9 ERA, and shit, man, if 2 pitches aren't working for him, he's got 4 others that he's going to turn to.
Dude,
It's so
so this is what's going to happen. We're going to look back in like 10 years, 15 years. Assad's still going to be pitching. And we're going to be like, holy shit. This guy has just put up like the quietest, most impressive career we've ever seen. I'm telling you that, like, I'm so confident that that's going to happen.
So I'm hearing your tone come through about all these guys. Like, you're so high on so many of the Cubs, but not only are you high on their talent, you're high on the person that they are, right? You've mentioned Shota's personality. You've mentioned how great you like Javier Assad. Can you speak to the clubhouse chemistry with Chicago? Because I think that's what the fans in Wrigley are feeding off of. Like, you guys are just such an exciting bunch. It's not like this super young team, right? Like in Baltimore, but you do have some young guys with some veterans. Like, it just seems like a really close clubhouse.
Oh, that's 100% correct. And I don't really know exactly who to like give the testament to, but they've done a really good job of getting the right group of guys together. And even last year, like I felt like everybody in the clubhouse could kind of tell that something special was building. There was a lot of chemistry. We were having so much fun playing together towards the end of the year last year, and I think that really carried over into this year. Re-sign Belly, get him back. He was a big part of last year, and there's so many guys that were in this locker room last year. We all saw how close we were. We saw the team that took our spot in playoffs, what ended up happening with them. So there's just a really good energy and good vibe in the clubhouse. We all love showing up to the field every day and playing with each other, hanging out, just, shooting the crap in the locker room and stuff. So it's a lot of fun.
Do you guys have a head of vibes? Like a guy in the clubhouse where it's like this guy's, organizing the dinners, making the most jokes, maybe after a loss.
Everyone has a role. Everyone has a role.
what's your role?
What's my role?
Yeah. You're going to say I don't have a role.
Yeah, everyone has a role. What's your role? I have no idea.
I have no idea. I don't know my role.
All right, so give me some roles. Who's got a role?
I got you. I got you. I got you. For music, Dansby. Dansby has the music. He's in charge of music.
What type of
We're on
music?
the bus. He has a little bit of everything. That's why he's in charge of music.
He
has he pleases everyone. For pitchers, catchers, Jameson Talion's a really good dinner guy. He's the dinner reservation guy. He's the one that, I'm usually his date. I like to sneak my way into be his date. Let's see. Vibes. Albert Alzolay brings the energy every day. Really good mood all the time. Always happy. Always joking around. Trying to think what else. What other kind of guy you need in the locker room?
How about who's the best at like the ping pong? Like, who's the guy who runs the table games that you're playing in the clubhouse?
We need new ping pong balls. We got the 4-stars, and they're like too thin. Like you spin it and it takes off. It's like a nasty slider. You need a little more density to the balls.
The 3-stars are the best, right?
I think the
Isn't
Chicago
3
Cubs
stars. It's 3 stars.
3 stars.
3 stars.
I think the Cubs could cover new ping pong balls. I think that could be like a just baseball.
Well, it's more. I think it's more of like the guys. Like we go in there and we try it. We end up getting fed up. And I was like, all right, let's go do something else. But I think everyone on the team is pretty good at ping pong. We don't play a ton. I know Saya goes in there a pretty good bit and plays. Saya's pretty good.
Got you. I need your best food spot in Chicago, your go-to food spot, because I'll know what you're talking about, and I'll be able to call your bluff if it's not up to par.
Gibson's Italia in downtown Chicago. That's a really good restaurant. That's where I proposed to my wife.
Nice.
So that place has some good memories. Pizzeria Porfino on the river is very good. Pretty show spot. Good food, good drinks, good energy. It's right on the river. Good summertime spot. STK, really good steak place right above it. Dive bar-ish around Wrigley. Michael's Pizzeria is really good. It's a little towards the lake from Wrigley. I really like their thin crust pizza. I like their wings.
Okay, real quick, have you had Pequots?
No, I haven't.
Oh, dude. Go get the
What's
deep dish
Pequods?
Pequots. It's best deep dish you've ever had.
Are you
Okay,
a deep dish
okay.
guy? Are you a deep dish guy or a thin
Yeah,
crust guy?
I like both. If I'm watching football with the boys, I want thin crust, I want wings and beer. If I'm like wanting a fulfilling meal for dinner, deep dish pizza.
See, the thing is, I hate to be the disappointment. I'm not a deep dish guy. It's basically lasagna. It's
It's
just
not,
too
yeah,
much.
it's lasagna, but like it's a good
Yeah,
lasagna, so you
It
got to
is a
be
good
okay with it.
yeah,
lasagna, to be fair.
yeah,
It just shouldn't
exactly.
be in the pizza category because I'm a New York elitist snob, and I'm a thin crust guy till I die. And deep dish just never really did it for me. Are you a real deep dish guy, or are you just saying that because you're the face of the Cubs?
No, I like it. I like I like deep dish pizza. Like it's you put all like the things that go with pizza. If you just put it in a bowl together, I would say it's good.
That's a good point.
Yeah, that's kind of how I am.
Makes sense.
I don't got anything else, but I really appreciate you coming on, my friend.
Yeah,
Justin,
dude, I enjoyed it.
I
Yeah,
got
of
one more
course.
baseball for you. This year is obviously like, and Peter got into it a bit. Like the vibes are obviously really good. You mentioned, you guys really felt it in September, right? And unfortunately, just a little bit shy. But I mean, goals for you this
Mm.
year. You
Yeah.
kicked ass last year, clearly. Like, is it rinse and repeat? Is it, hey, I want to elevate what I was doing last year? Is there something different? Because obviously, I'm sure you have kind of a newfound level of hunger for individual and team success going into this year, too.
No doubt. No doubt I definitely do. And yeah, a lot of what you're saying is true. Like rinse and repeat is definitely a mindset that I was in. Definitely wanted to add some things to possibly, pitch further into the season, more starts, more innings. Obviously the hamstring doesn't help with that, but arm wise and body wise, like I feel good and stuff. But yeah, I feel like the things we've been doing, me and the strength staff, Keegan Noel, Clausen, the guys I work with in Arizona, and they're with the Cubs and stuff. I feel like we've been doing the proper things, the correct things to put my, body and everything in the right position to succeed, be in a consistent spot each day. And obviously, freak things happen when, you got to field a bunt and make a play. Things happen. But other than that, I feel like, in a great spot. I have a great routine and yeah, just kind of want to keep building off of what I've been doing, become a better pitcher each day, good teammate. Yeah, enjoy the process as well.
It's going to be hard for you to become a better pitcher after what you did last year, but I'm excited to see it. I cannot lie to you. Thanks so much, Justin, for coming on. This is a blast. It's always the blast. And we'll have to have you come back on after the season to talk about how you finished higher in Cy Young voting this year. Appreciate you, my friend.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.